Bluwaves. On today's episode, we have a very special guest. His name is Stanley Henry. He is the CEO of Attention Seeker, which is a brand agency that focuses on bringing attention to your brand. He is currently in New York. How are you this afternoon, Stanley?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to this. But yeah, enjoying the New York summer.
That's good. That's good. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, cool. So, as you said, my name's Stanley Henry and CEO of Attention Seeker. I've been running this company for coming close to 5 years now. And it's been an awesome journey because I used to run hotels. And before that, I grew up in Auckland and Manadera. And I had, a pretty typical South Auckland upbringing, as you probably know what I'm talking about. It's not like the most glamorous place to live, but it teaches you a lot. And so I come from that place, and it's taught me how to grind, it's taught me how to hustle, taught me how to be where I am today. My father's from the Cook Islands, my mother's from Waihi, and yeah, I was born and raised in Manadera. I went to Manadera Central School and did all my schooling out in South Auckland. And then when I was about 21, I moved to Australia, and from that point, started my travels. So, lived in Australia, London, Japan. I ran hotels for a living, and I was kind of like Mr. Fix-It in businesses. So I went around everywhere. They put me into hotels to fix them, and then I'd move on. And I had 12 jobs in 11 years doing that. So I moved around a lot. And then in 2019, I moved back to New Zealand to start the Attention Seeker. I didn't know what it was when I first started, but I managed to somehow build this crazy business that we've managed to build over the last 5 years. And it's been just like the coolest thing ever.
Oh, thank you so much for that, and absolutely proud to have another South Auckland, ally here on the show. Well done. You're in New York now, so that's huge. You're basically living the dream. So I see you've gone through a lot of industries. You've been through so much workplaces. Why did you choose to get into digital marketing?
Yeah, good question. I think it was never a conscious decision to get into this. It was a conscious decision to build my own brand because I understood through my work in hotels and from watching, YouTube and that, and understanding like where the world was going with brand and content, that I needed to build my own personal brand, that it was going to be paramount if I stayed in hotels or if I built my own business. I needed to have a good, strong personal brand. So I just started building that. And when I came back to New Zealand in October 2019, I built my own personal brand as much as I could on LinkedIn because that's the platform I knew best. And that went for 6 months straight, and I did a really good job. I met lots of people. I was having coffees with random people every day, 4 or 5 different people every day that I'd meet through LinkedIn. And then lockdown hit from COVID, and because no one else could get out and meet other people, they all needed to be on LinkedIn to, meet, to connect and do sales. And so all those people I had been meeting for 6 months straight all came to me and asked, like, Stan, like, how do we do what you're doing? Can you help us with LinkedIn? And I didn't want to be a coach. I didn't want to teach people how to do it because I felt like if someone wanted to learn from me, I'd happily talk to you and tell you how to do it. I was going to help them execute on it. And so I built a little small team of freelancers who could help me build my brand. And so I was like, look, if you're willing to pay for it, I can get this team that I put together and we can help do it for you as well. And so that's really how I got into it. I just did it through doing it for myself. And then it was COVID. And I was happy to take people's money through COVID because who knows where the next paycheck was going to come because the whole world had been turned upside down. And it snowballed really quickly. And I reinvested everything into more capability, more experience, more staff, getting to know where things were moving. And that's kind of how we got into it. So it wasn't that I consciously chose. Instead, I did what we do for our clients. I built my brand, and then I let the brand that I built um, go out to the audience, and the audience told me what they needed. And what they wanted was for me to do the same thing I did for me, for them.
Right, and I've seen your success. Tell us about it. You started off with a team of yourself. Tell us how big your team has grown.
Yeah, it's been a it's been a really wild ride. So the team's now sitting at 34. It started off with just me in my mate's spare bedroom. So throughout lockdown, friends of ours asked us if we wanted to move in because my wife and I were house sitting at the time. So for those who don't know, like there's lots of people who go on holiday for like a month or two, and they need their houses looked after while they're away because they got pets. And so that's how we were living in New Zealand when we moved back to save money on rent. We're just going from house sit to house sit. And obviously none of those people could move and go overseas for trips. So we lost all the house sits that we had for the rest of the year. So our friends of ours asked us to come in, stay with them. They had a spare bedroom, and he's like, look, build yourself an office, go for it. You can work from there. And so it was just me, a camera, a computer, and I just started to build my personal brand and build my little business there. And then that snowballed. I got my first staff member in May. So in May 2020, that was my dad. And my dad's like semi-retired, so he like really didn't want to work for me, but he knew that I needed the help. And I also hired my dad because if it all went downhill, I could fire him and he wouldn't take me to fair work, so like it's a real good sort of situation. And so I did that, and that was good. And then I just kept hiring. So then over the last 4 and a bit years, we've hired all up probably 40 or 50 people. We've got 34 currently in the team with, obviously people who have resigned and moved on to other roles. And we're continuing hiring. We're looking for a bunch more people at the moment. We should be about, I'd say if the forecasts continue the way that they're going, we should be about 45 people by the end of the year.
Congratulations. That's such a huge success. And I hope no one pulls you up on this interview for elderly exploitation for your dad. But shout out to your dad. That's why we love our families.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So what has been your best financial win so far?
From like a client, like from revenue perspective?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, I think for me, the best has been, and probably still is, One New Zealand as a client. When we secured One New Zealand as a client early last year, in about April last year, as they were going from Vodafone to One New Zealand, it was by far the biggest client we had at the time. At the time, it was probably 50% of our revenue. At the time when they came on. It's obviously not the same split now. We've obviously grown a lot since then, but that for us was game changing, like absolutely changed the whole framework and makeup of our business, because we had additional revenue inside of that we could spend on other resources, which allowed us to have more capabilities, which allowed us to attract more people. And look, we've like that one account over the last 2 years now has definitely been worth more than $1 million easily.
That's amazing. And you're getting contracts with pretty big clients. How does that look like for you? Are you going and pitching to these companies? Obviously, your product is really good. I know you're adding a lot of value, but what does that look like for your company?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, because we actually don't pitch a lot. Like One New Zealand's a great story. We put out our video. So what we do actually for all our clients is we help them build their presence online and get them attention, right? And we can do that because we do it for ourselves. So we were putting out content on LinkedIn. We had this series about Joni convincing me to marry my girlfriend at the time. I proposed to my girlfriend, who's now my wife because she succeeded, I suppose. And that video went like mega viral. It was like 5-6 million or something like that. And One New Zealand, the social lead for One New Zealand company, saw the video, reached out to us afterwards and said, hey, I really want to work with you. We're looking for a new social team. Can we have a chat? And actually like 3 days later, they would sign the contract and we've started with them. And like typically for an account that large, like they would go through like a tender and vetting process and everything to make sure that they got the right people, and you'd have to pitch and say what you're going to do. But the way we did it was like, we don't go into those. So we don't go after tenders or pitches or things or RFPs. People come to us and say, no, we want you guys because we've seen what you've done. We've seen what your capabilities are because we watch your content, and we don't want anyone else. We want you. And so the process of like getting these bigger clients is about working out between us and them what's a mutually beneficial relationship, because it's not a one-sided thing. They don't just pay us and we get rich. That's just not how it works. Like, yes. We have to deliver what we said we're going to deliver. So we have to make sure that what it is that they need and what it is that we can do meets and can marry up. And then we just work out the compensation for that fairly to make sure that all parties are happy with, what they're paying and what we're getting paid. As opposed to saying, here's our big ideas. We really want your business. Let's wine and dine you. Let's do all the things that a lot of businesses do, because they don't have any proof in the pudding to show. Whereas for us, I mean, if you watch any of our content and you follow us like our clients did before working with us, they know what we can do. They've seen it. They watch all our channels. They, with our 2.5 million followers across all our platforms, they know us and they've seen us. And so they look at that and they say, we want that. And then we say, cool, well, we want to work with you. What do you need? Okay, we can deliver. This is how much. Cool, we agree. And so it's like kind of a little bit different to some other agencies in the way that they go after people. They're very like, what they'd call outbound sales, where they'd really like knock on doors and cold calling and emails and ads. And we just do none of that. We just put out our content, have fun while we do it. But we've been deliberate about it, and we put out, anywhere from 150 to 500 pieces of content every single week. And so there's a lot of content going out, a lot of eyeballs on it. And because of that, we get about 15 to 20 million views a month across our content, on our own content. And so that's enough. That's enough for us to do our marketing. So it's a really interesting way. But what it does, the difference is that because we don't compromise on who we are in our content. You would have seen this if you've watched any of it. We don't compromise on who we are. So we definitely don't appeal to every client. Not all companies will want to work with us. Only certain types of companies who agree or like our personalities and the type of people we are. We're pretty unapologetically us. But I think it's actually a better way to be, because we don't want to work with a client that doesn't want to work with us or like the way that we work. It's not going to be good for them. It's not going to be good for us. We're not going to do our best work. They're not going to get what they need, and they probably just shouldn't work with us. And that's okay, because you can't get everyone. You can't have all the business. That just won't work. So we managed to find a really, really smart little niche for us.
Man, that's really cool, because I think it's important for a lot of people who are starting in business to really understand that, because there's often the confusion between going out and pitching to everyone. And I feel like with Attention Seeker, you guys have really mastered your product and working on that product, so that you don't even need to pitch your product. People are seeing the value that you're already adding, and that's a preferable spot to be in as a business, because you don't have to spend much money on, sales and outbound. People are just coming to you. So you've cut that and you've done that by refining your product. So well done on that, and congratulations on the growth as well. So we've talked about a lot of the successes that you've had with Attention Seeker. What have been some of the challenges?
Oh yeah, plenty. Lots. The listeners, how long do we have on this podcast? I got lots of challenges, lots of failures. Yeah, I got so many. And actually, like for us, the challenges and the failures that we've had have been the reason why we're successful. It's not been the wins. The wins don't teach you a lot. The wins, you get over them pretty quickly and you just move forward. It's the failures and the challenges that have really made us who we are. Like all the clients that have been tough on us, all the clients that have really pushed us, all the pieces of content that have flopped or not gone where they should have gone, those are the things that have taught us the most. But I would still say that for me, there's two big challenges for me. The first one is cash flow. And I think any small business owner understands the challenges of cash flow, especially when you have monthly payroll coming out or weekly payroll for a lot of people in New Zealand. That cash flow is, there's been months where I've gone to do payroll and I don't know where the money's coming from. I don't know how to get it. I have to just scrape everything I can, put my own money back into it, not pay myself for a few months. I remember in 2022, from about July through to the end of the year, me and my wife didn't get paid at all from the business. We just had to live on our savings for 6 months straight while we paid the rest of the team. And it's times like that, it's tough. And even now, my wife is traumatized almost from those times that every month she's like, oh, I can't spend any money because we're not going to have it. I'm like, look, it's not 2022 anymore. We're in a much better spot. We've got the better cash flow and things like that. So there is cash flow is cash is king. Anyone who doesn't understand and doesn't manage their cash well, you're going to go out of business, right? There's a crazy stat, something like 90-something% of businesses that fail, small businesses, they fail because of bad cash management as opposed to bad product. It's just that you don't have the money in the bank to continue the runway that you need to grow your business. So for me, it's always been a big highlight. All the team know everything about our cash flow. They all can see our bank accounts. They can see all the money that's spent or comes in and goes out. They know how much everyone's paid. They know how much I get paid. And we have a really big focus on it in our team. Every week, everyone goes through the cash flow forecast, so we all understand. So it's a shared burden, not just mine, that everyone understands what the cash is. But that's definitely a big challenge, and there's been plenty of times. I remember in 2022, February, I paid payroll the 28th of February, and I had $160 left in my bank account with about $100,000 worth of bills needed to be paid the following month. And so I was like, I've got to get some sales on the door. And then again, this year, in February this year, we had a couple of big clients have to pause because just, financial hardships and things like that for themselves. It wasn't any fault of anyone's, they just economy and whatnot, and the industries that were in construction and retail. And we just hired 4 people. So we had all this extra salaries, and then we're staring down this barrel of, and we're not going to have any money left in 2 months. We're going to be broke. And so I just had to put my foot down. I said to my EA, I was like, look, we have to go and sell. We've got all these people in our pipeline that are just sort of been dripping along. We need to go and get them all closed because we need to get sales. And we managed to go from thinking that we might need to get a loan in 2 months to in 7 days, we had $140,000 put into our bank account because we just managed to get all the business in our pipeline closed. And so it's just like those are that I was able to do that because of the lessons I learned 2 years ago when I had that $160 left in my bank account and how much of a struggle it was. So as I say, like the failures of what really made us where we are today and be able to bounce back like that. So cash flow is definitely, it still hurts me every month. And then the second one, and probably maybe more important, is just that I've had to let a couple of staff go. And for me, it's a real challenging thing because not because of having to fire people or the disciplinary process. Like I'm completely okay with that. It's the fact that like as a leader, we weren't able to get that person back to where we needed them to be successful in our company. And like for me, that's a real big failure on my part that I wasn't able to take this person who was a good person. We hired them, they've been working for us for a while now, but they started to slip and not keep up and let the team down. But I let them down by not being able to like find the right way to get the best out of them to move forward. And so that's a real hard challenge because you have to go through this process with someone who's like, this is their career, this is their job and their livelihood. And you take them through a process, and if you can't get them through it, you have to let them go, which of course you do because it's right for the business, right for everyone else. But it doesn't make it feel any better, when you have to let this person go because you as a leader couldn't get them to where they needed to be. So that for me is like probably the biggest challenge, and it's happened to me twice so far in the business. Hopefully, I mean, it will happen again because as a team grows, the likelihood of this happening again increases. But yeah, it doesn't get easy.
Thanks for sharing that with us. So that was a problem of cash flow and also not being able to see, staff members that you've onboarded onto Attention Seeker grow to their full potential, which shows really good leadership skills. You're being honest with yourself and the people around you. And I'm sure a lot of small business owners can relate to the cash flow issue. And the one thing I wanted to ask you on that was, how do you keep high spirits in those kinds of times? What do you go to? Do you pray? Do you have a shaman that you visit in the weekend? What do you do to handle that?
It's a good question. I think I'm the sort of person who is quite action orientated. So when I see that, I play in contradictions. I'm always looking at the worst case scenario of everything and the best case scenario. So I'm always going, this is what we could achieve, but this is the worst that could possibly happen. So we have to make sure that that's covered. And so when you get into those positions where cash flow is really tight and how to keep yourself motivated to do it, it's like I'm very good at going, okay, if that's the worst case scenario, what do I need to do to make sure that I can survive for another month or survive for a little bit longer? And what are the action points I need to do for that? And then I'd mark those down and I'd just go and execute on them. And my thing is just keep busy. If you sit there and blame or look to others to save you, that it's not going to come. It's not going to come. You've got to get in there and do it yourself. No one's going to come save you. It's a mantra that I've been taught a long time ago, is that, yeah, there's people who can help you and support you and there's all this stuff, but at the end of the day, if you can't fix it yourself as a business owner, then you have to let go. You have to move on because that's just where it is at that point. Obviously, as the team grows, your responsibilities change. You give accountability to other people. There's other leadership people in the team. And so there's different accountabilities that they have and they have to be able to execute on those. And mine changes the CEO. My job isn't the same as it was 2 years ago. My accountability is to make sure my leadership team has everything they need, and I'll go make sure I've got a plan for them. But that's kind of the way I look at it, right? Like, it's just, what's the action plan? What do you have to do to move forward? I always think of it as activity. Like, if I do all the activities, then the outcome will come. So, and if I can do more activities, I have a better chance of that outcome that I need to happen. And so I'm like pretty pragmatic and practical in that sense, that I don't like, I won't sit around and just say, oh man, it's not fair, you know, like government's done me dirty, or like, you know, this client's doing this and that. I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, you know, it's the same approach like when I think about my staff not delivering for me and me having to discipline, and that's on me, it's not on them. Like, it's my job, I'm the leader. It's not their fault that they've let me down. I've let them down by not being the leader they needed to do their job right. Because everyone's capable, I just haven't been the person that they needed to be capable. And so the same thing when it comes to cash flow, or it comes to business not going well, or, you know, mistakes or losing clients or whatever it is. I mean, I just take ownership and say, look, well, what can I do? Because I can't go to everyone else and be like, oh, you should just be better. Because what's that going to do? It's not going to help them.
Exactly.
They're not going to go, oh, sorry, Stan, I just didn't realize I could, you know, like,
Start right
you know,
now.
yeah, I'll start right now. Thank you for telling me. That was great advice. You know, like that's never going to work. So it's just about taking ownership and moving forward. And then look, if you think about it from like a more spiritual way, it's probably the worst way to say it. But for me, like, as in my thing is I do gaming. So whenever I've got too much in my head, I play video games, and it's my escape. And I can sit there and play video games for 12 hours straight and not like get up only to eat and go to the toilet and just play games. And my wife's like very good at going, okay, I know what you need. Like, just go play the Xbox, and like, I'll see you at dinner time. And what it allows me to do is like escape reality for a little bit and let just the cogs inside my head turn and just like solve the problems that I've got going on. And usually by the end of that like gaming series, I've got the answers I need and I know where to move forward. And so it's no different to people who, like you say, might pray or might like do some meditation or some deep thinking. Mine's just gaming. That's where I go to do that.
That's pretty cool. Quick fire question. What games are you jamming right now?
Good question. So I'm a pretty bad nerd. I'm playing a game called City Skylines 2. Anyone who plays it knows what I'm talking about.
My production team is currently celebrating as you're saying that.
I love that. I love that. They know what I'm talking about. Once you get in it, you can't get off it. And also Assassin's Creed. I'm a really big fan of all the Assassin's Creed series, because both these games, if you think about it, they're escapism sort of games. Like, you can just get lost in the world and not have to think. And that's what I like about them.
That's pretty awesome. The game that I usually use to escape is Skyrim, but right now I'm playing Elden Ring. And so I literally just roam, and that is kind of sometimes my meditation, just watching trees and things, and you get answers.
Perfect to do it on.
Absolutely. Yeah. But no, thank you very much for sharing that with us. One thing I've picked up with you is you're very transparent, which is kind of like the opposite of what a lot of people have been told about business. We're told to be, hyper competitive, keep your secrets to yourself. I went on your YouTube and you even share staff meetings where you guys are like brainstorming ideas on how to deliver for clients. And I find that very, very interesting. A lot of the times, even in university institutions, we're told to constantly keep competition as a forefront of our business structure and how to, survive in the market. But I find for you, you're quite open with how you share your information, your knowledge. Could you tell us a bit about that? Why you believe it's almost like a philosophy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think for me, there's a number of reasons in different aspects of the business. So like, if we talk about knowledge, the knowledge we have as a business and what we do for clients and what we do for ourselves, a lot of people think of that as our IP, and that's what makes us special and sets us apart, our ability to deliver on this. But actually, there's nothing you can watch that you could actually steal, because all of those ideas that came out, only one of them actually survives and ends up being for the client. And that idea for the client was right for them at that point in time, right then. And that idea didn't come from the way we do it. It came from the combination of people sitting in a room brainstorming the way that we do. And the best ideas in life when it comes to what we do, because a lot of we're knowledge workers, we sell we sell strategy and then execution of that strategy. So that strategy is on content, let's say. Two ideas smashing together. That's all it is. You get two seemingly separate things, you smash them together and you have a new idea. And then it's that new idea that you're able to like plant into a client's social accounts and grow. You can't steal that. There's no way to steal that from the information I've shared. All that you're seeing is our process, like how we do it, but like what we do is no different to anyone else. Like everyone thinks through ideas the same way. It's not a uniquely attention seeker thing. And so actually what ends up happening, if I truly believe that there's nothing you can steal from that, what happens then? Well, we get clients watching it going, man, I really like the way these guys think, maybe we should work with them. I get future potential staff watching it go, man, I really like the way that this company operates. I want to work for them, right? And then we start to build this community of people who agree with us or like from what we do, and they want to teach us some stuff. They go, hey, you had this thing here, why don't you try this as well, right? And they start feeding us ideas. So from like a knowledge perspective and what we do as a team, there's nothing you can steal that would allow you to steal business from us. There's just nothing. And then you can go further, like, so we have transparency around financials. And a lot of my team are like, they always get surprised the first time I'll share the P&L of the profit and loss, or they'll get surprised at when they first start that, oh my God, like my salary is open for everyone to see. And I can also see all of theirs, and we know how much everyone's getting paid, and I know how much money Stan's spending, you know, in New York and all these sorts of things. They can see it all. That it's, they at first are like a little bit taken aback, like, man, this is crazy. Like I can see how much my boss gets paid. And then when they start to realize and they start to work through it, they start to realize that, well, actually, this is awesome, because now I'm not worried that I'm underpaid, that everyone else gets paid more than me, but I'm not getting paid fairly. You know, that we don't have this concept of like gender inequity between, you know, pay cycles, because, you know, the women in our team know how much the men are getting paid and vice versa, but also based on experience level and race and all sorts of stuff, right? There's no like, you get this more equitable workforce where everyone goes, okay, cool, this person's getting paid more than me because of these reasons. Fine, got it, cool. So if I want to get paid that, then I have to do those things too. And so we have a real big, like we have, that puts onus on me as a business owner as well, that I can't just pay people whatever. I have to pay them relative to everyone else. And when I increase the top tier of, like if there's like say the account management team, if I'm going to raise their one of their salaries, I have to raise all their salaries because they're all account managers. So I have to raise all of them together. So I think it puts a lot of onus on me as business owner to be fair and equitable, and I think it makes it better. And then the profit and loss for people, the guys to know and have a deep understanding of how the financials play out, I think super important, because I think for a lot of staff, they forget that they work in a business. They just think they do a thing, and they forget that the thing they do earns money so that they can get paid their salary, because there's no connection to the money. So like by the team looking at the profit and loss and cash flow forecast every week going, hey, that client hasn't paid, or you've not delivered the work to earn that retainer, we're not going to be able to invoice them. Therefore, we lose this money, which has a flow-on effect of we can't do payroll this month. Right. And so now they have a real connection of like why their job's important and what it does for the overarching business. So for me, the more transparent you be, there is no real downside. The only downside that you can possibly have with transparency is if you're a leader who can't lead well enough, is my opinion. That you don't have the I guess the resilience and the leadership capabilities to handle those conversations the right way, which is understandable because not everyone does, because leadership is a skill that you learn over time. But I think if you're a young leader out there or a small business and you want to start to do this, just dip your toes into little pieces of transparency, and you'll start to see the benefits that flourish from it. And then it'll want you to be more transparent in more ways.
I think you put that so perfectly, and also highlighting the reasons why it's beneficial for your entire team to see, you know, the profit and loss, because it really puts more purpose into themselves as staff members, so that they can see what they're contributing to, and also in contrast to that, how important their work is if something's not done. So it puts accountability at the forefront, right? So that's pretty awesome. I think that's a really cool way to work. Do you know anyone else who works like that?
No, not as transparent as us. There are some companies around the world. Like there's a company called Buffer who does social scheduling. Yeah, and they have actually taken it one step further with their salary transparency, and they actually publish it on their website for everyone to see.
Oh, wow.
And they have built a calculator to calculate salary. So all the salaries are based on a formula, and it's fully transparent. So if you want to apply for a job, you know exactly how much you're going to get paid based on this calculator. So there's some companies that have taken a step further, but I think it's quite common in the tech world where you have a lot of it's a real San Francisco thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Like you've got all these like liberals over there who are trying these new ways of working and whatnot, but like it's based on some really solid research and some really solid foundings. That like the higher the transparency, the better the culture.
And I also think it's, well, just from my perspective, hearing it's based on some pretty good principles and values as well. The way that they're structuring these kinds of new ways of working. And just talking about tech, and I'm often wondering about the AI and automation. A lot of industries are kind of, it's a scary time for them. Some industries are embracing it. How are you finding it? A lot of people are thinking, I'm going to lose my job. AI is going to do this. AI is going to take this. What about you? How are you positioning Attention Seeker with the fast movement of AI and automation?
Yeah, I'm a technologist at heart. Like I love it. I love technology. I love what it can do for people. I love what it can do for business. I just love what it can do for society. I think it's great. And of course, technology can hurt, but overall and over the course of human history, it's always been more beneficial for humans. I guess you could argue that if we take it too far, maybe it's not. But the reality with technology is that there's like 0.1% of technology in a given area. So let's say AI, 0.1% of it will be amazing and will change the world and do all these cool things. 0.1% of it will be really bad and people will use it for nefarious reasons, and mostly probably at a government level or like at a terrorist level, maybe, I don't know. But 99.8% of everything else will just be boring and monotonous, just the same way as that you don't think about how your maps gets you to work in the morning. Like you just don't think about how your technology works. You don't even question how we are creating a podcast from other side of the world together of all the technology that we needed to enable what we're doing right now. We just take it for granted. We just forget about it. Like at first, I remember being at the Technology Roadshow at MOTAT in Auckland when I was young, and we did a video call from 10 meters away, and it blew our mind. Like we were like, holy, this is amazing. Like, what is this? And then now you and I are doing a podcast from other sides of the world, and this will be in high definition. Like it's going to be like a great product at the end of it. And we just forget. So I think, first of all, that's like my philosophy on technology and AI, that most of it will just become ubiquitous and we won't really realize it's happening, and it'll just become every day. In terms of it like taking people's jobs, I can understand how that could happen, but usually like what typically happens in a business is that I guess the investment into technology is quite a lot. So the bigger the company, the higher the investment costs. And so technology doesn't usually just go like this. You don't usually just like flip over from using humans to not using humans, because of the investment costs it takes to implement technology. And the implementation of technology is actually the most costly part. So if I put an AI system into a business, it's not the cost of the AI, it's the cost of the implementation, getting the humans to use the AI effectively in the business. That is the key. That's the hardest part. So what ends up happening is implementation of technology is very slow. So if all that's said and done, the way we look at it is try everything, use it all. Does it help our jobs be a bit easier, that we can take some of that time we were spending on like repetitive tasks to do deeper work or bigger strategy, make better videos, do more client relationships, which actually, to be honest, most of the additional time that we get, I tell the team to spend on client relationships, because we're a real customer intimacy focused business where, although we have a great product, actually our skill set and the reason why we're doing so well is because we have a laser focus on customer intimacy and how great customer feel we can have and become friends with everyone. So AI enables us to do more of that. But then also my biggest takeaway for anyone thinking about AI in the knowledge space is use it as a second brain. So every single meeting I do, every single like situation I'm in, I will record using our Otter. We use otter.ai to record every single meeting, every single conversation, in person, online. and all our strategy meetings, everything gets recorded from all the team. And then eventually, like, we've got this database now of just like literally thousands and thousands of conversations that as AI develops, we'll be able to feed it all in, and it'll be able to help us with our strategic second brain sort of stuff. And what that means is that when you go into strategy rooms, like you might have seen on YouTube, you don't start from a blank page. You start from a piece where the AI's taken it already. The AI's like, here's what it is. Here's your starting point. It's a pretty damn good idea. You guys would have come up with this idea a year ago. Now that you've got it, take it another level. And so I think that like the only way to do that well for knowledge workers is you've got to start capturing that data now. You need to, because AI needs lots and lots of data. So we've literally been doing it for a year now, capturing all of these conversations so that we can build our own sort of AI model in the future when the technology catches up.
And we've talked a lot about like the benefits of AI, and I just wanted to go in. You mentioned earlier that you know, with every shift in history, there's more good than it does bad. But I'm personally someone to believe that we try to minimize the risk as much as possible. So what are the kind of risks that you're seeing with AI, and how do you think we can progressively address them in the time we are now?
To be honest, like I'm a real glass half full sort of guy.
Yeah.
And I look at the challenges with AI and what it can do and what it can't do is just opportunity. I think that people will look at AI stealing jobs in, like, at the moment, the biggest, the where most people think jobs are going to be lost with AI is in knowledge workers, with knowledge workers, because automation and robotics has already been around for years now in manufacturing and processes like that, construction and whatnot. So AI really is like knowledge workers, right? Like knowledge workers are really worried because, like, can it help me edit faster? Can it help me write better stuff? Like, do I need SEO people and blah, 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 blah. So there's all these like skill sets of people who are like worried, will it eventually be able to take me out? But all it does is it takes you to another level, because like knowledge workers wasn't a thing like 100 or so years ago, right? Like there's very few people who could be Leonardo da Vinci and just sit around and paint the Mona Lisa. Like not many people do that. And obviously like technology in manufacturing and automation enabled more of us to stop plowing fields and start learning how to be knowledge workers. And I think what all it does is people will look at a video editor as a knowledge worker, that they're someone who we're needed because we've got to edit. But actually, it's like the real skill that an editor has is being able to tell a story, right? They're being able to take this raw footage that they go and tell a story through the editing process. And that skill set, AI isn't anywhere near being able to really do that well, and also be able to experiment with it, try new things, and incorporate all this other like references from other movies and things. So all that, I think what it does is it takes most of us who work in the knowledge field and puts us up into that strategic thinking. And the more of us in strategic thinking, I think the better. And because strategic thinking is both using everything in the old that we have to affect the future, but also to develop new things. And so that's my sort of take on it, that there are people will get left behind, just like they got left behind in manufacturing, like they got left behind in farming, like they got left behind in everywhere. But this hasn't been slow. I mean, fast, sorry. This has been slow. Like we've been talking about AI for a while, and people have been blowing the whistle about it. Like if people are worried, then do something about it. It's not that hard to sort of understand in your particular field how AI might disrupt and what you need to do to get above it. You know, and I think that if anyone's listening to this and they're worried about their job being taken away, like let's say you're a copywriter, then you should be learning right now, okay, well, if I'm a copywriter and this AI is going to be able to write copy as good as me, what's the next level of my job? And so how do I become that now before AI takes away my base level job?
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's a good way of thinking. It's and you're right. I never thought of it that way. Like it's forcing people to elevate to a strategic level and forcing growth, which is pretty cool. Last question, Stanley, thank you so much. You're now in New York exploring new lands and opportunities. How has the experience been for you compared to what it's been like in New Zealand?
Yeah, this is a good question. And like, I've been thinking about it a lot lately, about the differences about working in New Zealand and working in New York. And I did a post the other day on LinkedIn that sort of blew up, because I sort of called out that in America, there's a layer of confidence here that they just have to invest and do their best. Whereas I find in New Zealand, a lot of businesses accept mediocrity. They accept this glass ceiling that's been put above them, especially like when you think about where we grew up in South Auckland, and as Pacific Islanders or Māori, like it's even worse for us. Like we have a lower glass ceiling than everyone else because of just like the way we are and the community that we've been brought up in. And I guess coming to New York, what it's done is like that glass ceiling isn't real. Like it doesn't actually exist. Like there is no ceiling. Like just go for it, right? And so for me, that's been the most exciting part, is like realizing that if I really wanted to do this and I really want to grow this into this huge company that I want to do with thousands of employees, well, I can actually do that. There is a way to do it. There is a pathway forward. I've just got to go out and take those opportunities for myself. And so actually what's been a big thing for me is, okay, with these learnings, this idea that this glass ceiling does really exist over top of New Zealanders, and also like specifically my community that I grew up in Manadera and South Auckland and Pacifica. So how can I share these stories so that they, these people or these business owners take a look up and go, wait, is the ceiling above me real, or is it self-imposed? Have I put it there? And if I have, how do I break through it? And so that's been my like biggest eye opener here, because it's just a city of possibilities. Like everyone here is a little bit delusional, but that delusion is a layer of confidence that makes them all think that they can all win. And look, not all of them do, but like there's like this idea that with New York, because it attracts, it's such a hard place to do business, it's such a competitive landscape that only like the best survive. So you actually are living in this world where it's all A players. Like you have to be an A player to be here, because if you're not, you're just going to get chewed up and spat out. But also what I found with New York is that everyone here who's here understands that everyone else is an A player. So instead of competing, they go, we should work together. And then if we work together, we'll both get up, right? Whereas in New Zealand, and you know this, because you operate out of South Auckland, so it's even worse in South Auckland, that we see competition. We're like, I need to kill you, I need to destroy you, I need to win at all costs and put you down. And that's like just, we might not say it like that, but that's like a thinking in the back of our head. We see someone do something that we did yesterday, and they're like, oh, they copied us, bloody, you know? Here in New York, it's like, oh, I saw you did that thing. We should do it together. We should both win. You know, we should win together. We should all collaborate. We should all come together. So like the thing I found is that you ask someone for help, or you say you want to meet for a coffee, they'll all say yes all the time. They'll say, yep, let's try. Let's see what we can do. Let's see if there's mutual benefit here. And as opposed to New Zealand, and what I found working in Auckland at least, is I did find my people who were ready to say yes, and I attracted a certain type of person to me. But I definitely met hundreds of people who put their guards up. Were like, what's he trying to get out of me? You know, how's he going to screw me over down the line? And it's just like a really, like, it's a race to the bottom. It's just a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
And so I think if there's anything I can like share with people in New Zealand, and especially in the Pacific community of like where I came from, and understand how we think because of what we're brought up like, is to understand that like, what if we just collabed? What if we did more together? What if we all won, as opposed to one of us winning and everyone else failing? Like it's not a zero-sum game like that. So that's been a real interesting learning from this place. And I think it's, for me, given that that's my philosophy on life, it's a really good place for me to be.
Yeah, it sounds like I want to come to New York now, but I totally, absolutely 100%, I would die on this, is the fact that a lot of people in South Auckland do operate a lot out of fear. Like you want to build genuine relationships, you want to work together and make things happen, but there's always that guard up. And I've tried my best to not take it personally, but you know, emotions are a part of life. So there's a lot of the times there's emotional work involved in networking in Auckland, in the Auckland region. And then you do come across good people who are just open, like, let's do it, let's see what we can do. And so I'm glad to hear that you found a land where everyone is open to collaborating and growing together. That's a beautiful thing to hear, and a very hopeful thing to hear. So, and I'm sure there's many other places like that as well. But thank you so much, Stanley, for sharing your wealth of insight and knowledge as well. I look forward to seeing you and your company grow. I can tell by this conversation that you make for an absolutely great leader, and your team's lucky to have you. So thank you for coming onto our show, and I hope you have a great rest of your week and have a good weekend. Get some much needed rest and work as well. But thank you so much, Stanley. Do you have any last words for our viewers?
No, just thank you so much for having me on. This was a great conversation, and I really enjoyed it. And thank you to everyone who listens. And if anyone wants to reach out and ask me a question, please do, like, message me on LinkedIn or whatever it is. I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. I love having questions from people.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.